There was something about chapter 1 with Iba that I had to do, so let me do it real quick. I know I've saved here for some reason, because the guy told me. Oh, wait. Oh, Wait, is there no bad ending for game over for this Oh, I see. Okay. So we make him endure it here. That's very odd for Iba. Alright. A wave of anxiety kept me suspended in motion. If Iba was unwilling to consume my blood, then there was no guarantee that the medicine would work. Through gritted teeth, Iba desperately feigned a smile, attempting to wave me away despite being drenched in sweat and losing all color in his face. Iba! I began to fear that my inaction would only hurt him more, so I kneeled down and took him into my arms. What does this look like? It'll be okay, Iba. I felt so helpless, and Iba dug his nails into the back of my shoulders in an attempt to power through. My lungs were ready to burst as Iba constricted me in his embrace, and he wheezed in pained gasps. The facade of Iba's calm demeanor faded altogether, and his restless jitters made him vulnerable and afraid. Please, stop worrying about me right now. I continued to hug Iba up tightly, keeping close until his violent seizure had long since subsided. Oh. Just to see that nothing new happens, I'm gonna go through this. Because indeed, the first game over that I have is Chapter 2. Which is odd. Let's go after the Shinsengumi. I was unsure if Iba could take my suggestion at face value, but I had to take the chance. Why don't we go after the Shinsengumi? His glowing eyes quivered for a second, thinning out of curiosity. However, he quickly averted his line of sight. He spoke bluntly, eliciting an eye roll from me. As usual, Iba was being stubborn, but I was in no real position to force him to break his vow. Alright, now we do Iba properly. Ah! That A button is going to be a problem. Anyway, low romance, high corruption is your recipe. I'll go inside then. I suppose I'll head inside then. Be sure to keep warm, Iba. I wanted to bask for a moment longer in Iba's company, but maybe it was better for him to contemplate without me serving as an unnecessary distraction. I bowed my head, preparing to turn in for the night. Ah! And it's, make him endure it. Iba! My initial reaction was to grab my kodachi, so I put my hands around its hilt when... Iba shrieked madly as his wide eyes began to bulge. But at this rate... His forehead was sodden with sweat, sitting above a scrunched face as he dug his fingers into his ribcage. I could no longer bear to watch him in this state. I wrapped my arms around him, feeling him squeeze my body tightly as he fought the urge to cry out in desperation. It was hopeless. A lamentable state for which I could offer no reprieve save for my company. I felt pity each time a strained grunt came from his closed lips. Hang in there, Iba! I flinched as his fingers clawed against my back. But I had to remind myself that anything he inflicted upon me was minuscule compared to the suffering he was forced to endure. If only I could absorb all of his pain for him. I held him closely, feeling his rapid heartbeat pound in his chest as he writhed in pain. Ah! I just saw what the next option is, and I am so... about it. To save Iba's life, the only reasonable thing I could do was to... trust Takeda. Would you really spare Iba's life? A calm, sympathetic gaze appeared on Takeda's face as he coolly responded. My knees wobbled, and sweat dripped down my neck. Was this what was to become of me? Could I give my body to someone I didn't love?
ダメです。千鶴ちゃん
As Iba's voice called out from behind me, my heart wavered, casting me into a sea of doubt. Giving in to Takeda's demands was a forfeiture of my heart and my body and my future, but all of them paled in comparison to the fortitude of Iba's life. You'll promise that you'll spare him?
助けてやる。命だけはな。だが、この鬼の左手は、イバなどには過ぎたものだ。私がいただいておこう。
Oh no. The blade of Takeda's sword twinkled like a radiant moon above Iba's cradled body. No! I elbowed the Fury in the chest, taking advantage of his lowered guard by knocking the wind out of him. As soon as I broke free, I sprinted towards Takeda, reaching for the Kodachi sitting on the side of my hip. But I was too slow. Ha! Takeda then swung his blade to point his tip right in front of my face, stopping me dead in my tracks.
どうやらお前は史上の鬼となったこの私への敬意が足りんようだ。誰がお前の主人なのか、じっくりしつけねばならん。
Takeda lunged for my arm, twisting it roughly as he pulled me in closer to him. 痛い！
待て！彼女！離せ！
Iba drove his sword into the ground, using it to pull himself up from the floor, but...
羅刹ども！その男を始末しろ。血を存分にすすって構わんぞ。
All of the Furies pointed their eyes greedily at Iba, encircling him to pounce upon his body. Oh no, they're going to... Okay, Takeda, I give in. It's yours, everything. Just please don't do it. Please don't kill Iba. I felt deranged as I screamed at Takeda through hot, streaming tears.
お前のくだらんわがままなどに耳を貸してやると思うのか？勘違いするな。お前とはあくまでも優れた子をなすためにちぎるだけだ。妻として扱ってやる義理もないし、お前の意思など私には何の関わりもない。
If Takeda really were to kidnap me, there's no telling what horrific tortures would await me. I felt paralyzed, letting all manner of miserable thoughts grip me with fear. Just when I'd given up all hope. Iba let out an ear-splitting scream, a shrill, desperate cry of agony that shook me to my core. I shut my eyes in terror, hearing what came next. Try as I might, I couldn't hold on to Iba's fading voice as it became smothered by the cacophonous chewing of the Fury's vicious maws. Soon his voice faded away entirely. I'd lost him. No! This couldn't be happening. Ever since we were children, Iba sought to protect me. In her adulthood, he had sacrificed his humanity to save me in the middle of harrowing circumstances. But it was for nothing, for his body could not withstand the mutilating carnage of a Fury horde. Iba had been eaten alive, stripped to the bone. As the realization sank in, I felt all of the power leave my body, and depression held me by the neck.
ようやく観念したか。それでは共に来てもらうぞ。人間も鬼をも超えた新しい種族を生み出すためにな。
I could hear the faint echo of Takara's voice, but my vision was beginning to blur. It was almost as if my willpower left me entirely, and my body was content to topple over. In one final act, I unsheathed my kodachi, and I drove it into my own heart, letting its cold steel take me. At first, the pain was searing hot, but soon my skin felt icy to touch, and everything was going black. I just wanted all of this to be over. I wanted to see Iba's face one last time, as the two of us drifted into the underworld. And thus another noble sacrifice has been made by Chizuru herself. Tip 3. Low romance and high corruption is your recipe. Make him endure it. Iba!
薬も血もいりません。僕は君の負担になるために羅刹になったわけではありませんから。
But was enduring the pain worth it? Beads of sweat dripped from his glistening brow, and he bellowed as his condition only worsened. My stomach twisted into a knot while I watched. Iba, hang in there! I wrapped my arms around his convulsing body. His groans clamored through gnashed teeth, and he insistently clawed at his own skin in desperation. Iba. I felt helpless, even as Iba rode out the rest of his bloodlust in my arms, and I tried to visualize ways things could have happened differently. Frustration wore me down, but I kept my mouth shut as the two of us waited for his onset to pass. Da 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 da. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. You're too strong to let that happen, Iba. No, you are. Look at yourself. You're standing here with me, saying something that I know can't be easy to admit. If Iba were a weaker man, then perhaps he would have done things differently. Perhaps he would have submitted more easily to these ravenous cravings, or ensnared me in something darker, and that would have been it. Or he likely would have suppressed these carnal impulses to the extent that he would become a shut-in, and I would have been none the wiser. Please, don't give up now. You're so close. I believe in you, Iba. Once more, he bit into his lower lip, chewing on it for a second of silence. Oh.
あなたは本当にそんな風に言われると弱音など吐いている場合ではないと思えてくる。
Always full of surprises. So you understand?
僕の方からお願いしなくてはいけませんね、千鶴ちゃん。これからもずっとあなたならきっと僕を止めることができるはずですから。
Of course. I felt the urge to bite my nails from anxiety.
おーい、誰かいるかい？
An unfamiliar voice called from outside the front door, and my heart nearly stopped in my chest.
大事な手紙を預かってるんだ。出てきてくれねえか？
A letter? Could it be from Motoyama?
はあ、いたいた。返事がねえからてっきり留守かと思ったぜ。
What's that letter you spoke of?
ついさっきあっちの路地で手紙を預かってな。この家の雪村って人に渡してくれって言われたんだ。
No. For me?
確かに渡したぜ。
Hey! Before I had a chance to thank him, the stranger bolted into the alley and vanished. I wonder why I must have received a letter. As I peeled open the parchment, I recognized the handwriting, and at the bottom it read, Sen. Sen? It's from Sen? I darted my eyes back to the top of the letter and read Sen's instructions to meet her at a nearby bay. There was something dubious about the timing and method of Sen's correspondence, but if it were urgent, then I couldn't leave her out to dry, and her handwriting matched. Just to be safe, I quickly scribbled a note for Iba for his peace of mind. Surely it wouldn't take long. Wind brushed against my cheeks as I left the house. When I reached the bay, I saw Sen's figure faintly.
千鶴ちゃん、来てしまったのね。
Sen? My heart sank, however, when I noticed two silhouettes lurking beside her.
お前だけか。てっきり護衛気取りのあの雑魚がついてくると思ったのだが。
How did this happen?
もしやまだ傷が癒えておらんのか。銀の銃弾の威力は想像以上だったようだな。
Takeda! Father! Why would they be with Sen? As I mustered the courage to call out to them, Takeda began licking his lips gleefully. You forced her to write that letter, didn't you? Why would you do such a thing?
何の目的だと知れたこと。
おびただしい数の人間の血を飲んだ彼は今や純血の鬼さえしのぐ存在となった。彼が純血の女鬼との間に子をなせばより強い子が生まれるはずだ。そうなればこの日の元、いや世界さえも我々のものとなるだろう。
My deepest fears have been realized. Father fully intended for me to bear Takeda's child.
いい加減にしなさいよ。本当にそんなことができると思ってるの？あんたたち狂ってるわ。
Asen cried out frantically. Takeda smacked her across the face without any reservation, and her cheeks went pink instantly.
誰に口を聞いているのだ。また痛い目に遭わされたいのか。
Sen! I broke into a sprint to rescue Sen, but
待て。
before I could reach her, Takeda grabbed my arm. Oi! The inhuman force of Takeda's grip nearly popped my shoulder from its socket. I was unable to break free as he twisted his hand, using his skinny fingers to constrict my arm.
どうせならあの伊庭の前でお前をなぶってやりたかったのだが、後で奴一人を捕らえることぐらい造作もないことだ。まずはお前を厳しくしつけて この私に逆らえんようにしておかねばな。
Stop! Let me go! I jerked my arm, trying to wrestle my arm free from Takada's clutches, but it was no use.
おとなしくしろと言っているのだ。
Takada tightened his grip, and I raised my shoulder in severe pain from being goaded by his pull. And then Takada speedily contorted my arm, and I heard the chilling sound of a bone snapped clean in half, and suddenly my arm went limp in total agony. I was ready to faint from the searing nightmarish pain.
私の命令に素直に従わぬから、そういう目に遭わされるのだ。純血の鬼ならば、その程度の怪我、ほんの数日で治るのだろう。痛めつけがいがあるというものだ。
His eerie eyes glistened under the radiant moonlight, brimming with madness. Iba, where are you? Against all hope, I prayed for his return, but it was no use, and Takada and father whisked me away. A fate worse than death awaited me, and I was forced to serve as Takada's slave for the rest of my days. Ugh. And I'm somehow supposed to write Takada in a better light. That's gonna be a challenge. Alright, on to our bad ending. Alright, low romance and high corruption is your recipe. I said that. I cannot. I'm so sorry. I really like you, Iba. I do, but I'm just not ready for that yet. Iba's eyes thinned and he patted his hand atop my head and chuckled.
冗談ですよ。あなたともっと親密になりたいのは本当ですけど、あなたの意思を無視してまでことに及ぶつもりはありません。
Wait, so
こんな夜に一人になったらいろいろと思い出してしまうでしょう。
oh. Iba delivered his words slowly, which only added to the confusion I had felt, but I appreciated his sentiment either way. Well, thank you for thinking of me, Iba.
礼には及びませんよ。それじゃ寝る支度をしましょうか。
We gotta make him endure it. Iba! Should I have subjected him to the bitter taste of medicine, or to my blood's metallic tang? He writhed in agony as I contemplated to myself.
平気です。これぐらいなら耐えてみせますから。
All of the color was draining from Iba's cheeks. At any moment, I was certain he'd faint. Iba, just hang in there. It will pass. I wrapped my arms around him tightly, feeling his whole body vibrate in my meek arms. I winced as he viciously clawed against my back, scratching me with a ferocity that likely paled in comparison to the pain he was feeling. I found myself sink into hopelessness, pondering how much more Iba could suffer, and if I would be forced to let him endure it. The minutes felt stretched into hours as I waited his symptoms to pass, letting my wretched feeling of self-loathing conquer my defeated heart. Ooh. Do you think you stand a chance? Do you think you'd stand a chance out there? A defeat against Imperial forces in Ezo was proving to be an inevitability. There we go. And it was nerve-wracking. Surrendering absolutely could guarantee the lives of our remaining men and establish a semblance of peace that was, as of now, hung tenuously in the air.
難しいでしょうね。戦というのは始めるよりも終わらせる方が難しいと聞きますから。
Perhaps my question was ill-informed. Hearing Iba say to himself, however, was far too much for me to stomach in front of him. Before I could react, Takeda tackled me to the ground, pinning so I couldn't wiggle free. And then he pressed his blade against my neck. All of a sudden, I felt a harsh sting and blood trickled down from my windpipe down my chest. Takeda yanked his blade out of my throat and viciously put his mouth to the deluge of blood, drinking me with aplomb as I laid helplessly.
なんという甘さだ。これが純潔の女鬼の血か。もっともっと血をよこせ。
He dug 2 fingers into the deep gash and ripped the hole wide open, making screaming impossible. But numbness was beginning to seep through me. Screams of anguish echoed in the distance, but my hearing began to fade with each moment. Although I could make out the hiss of their blades, my vision was blurring, and I was beginning to drift into a slumber, coaxed into a nightmare. As I fell into the cups of death, I heard.
待っていてください、千鶴ちゃん。この男を倒した後、すぐに僕も追っていきますから。
Iba had been bidding me farewell, but I was in no position to return the favor. Instead, I was forced to make one wish. I wished, as I choked on my own blood, that our next meeting was... Oh, Iba. Takeda went fucking feral. Oh, Lord. Alright, time for our unrequited love ending. Chapter 4. Low romance and low corruption. I said that I cannot. We give him blood. Do you think you stand a chance? At the last possible second, I turned around and tried to get out of Takeda's way. Instead, an icy blade burrowed its way deep into my chest. Never mind.
Chizuru-chan!
Luckily, Takeda hadn't struck through my heart, but blood splattered like a red spider lily from out of my chest, splashing onto Takeda's person.
なんと甘い香りだ。やはり純血の鬼の血は違う。伊庭八郎、お前はこんなに美味なものを毎日味わっていたのだな。
Jesus, Takeda. Each breath I drew was agonizing. I couldn't move.
お前だけは何があっても許さないぞ。
Iba rushed angrily towards Takeda, with his sword lifted over his head, but... In the blink of an eye, Takeda yanked the sword from my chest and swung it towards Iba. Their swords clang against one another once more, but Iba's defense was half-hearted, as if all his confidence had vanished like fog. Perhaps it was because Takeda had been invigorated by the taste of my blood. Or perhaps it was because Iba's calm demeanor had been disrupted by Takeda's second wind.
雑草育ちの私は貴様と違い、何があっても生き残ることを信条としているのでな。貴様を上回る力を手に入れたとき、そうはさせるか!
Mustering his strength, Iba charged at Takeda. But his moves were sluggish and Takeda leapt back. Through gritted teeth, Iba slowly turned his line of sight at me as I writhed in a pool of my own blood.
千鶴ちゃん、大丈夫ですか？しっかりしてください。
I'm fine. Just in pain. He didn't hit any organs. I feigned toughness for Iba's sake, but my insides burned with a searing intensity. There was doubt as to whether or not I would recover from these wounds soon, if at all.
五稜郭まで運びます。じっとしていてください。
What about Takeda?
今はそれどころではないでしょう。あなたをこのままにしておくわけには。
No, you must stop Takeda. I will heal soon, but if we let Takeda regather his strength, then he'll kill us. Please, stop Takeda. Don't worry about me.
千鶴ちゃん。
A cold shiver raced through my body as Iba's thin fingers stroked my hair gently. And then,
きっと戻ってきますから。
Iba loosened his grip of my hair. Then he sprinted back into the dense, gloomy forest brush to find Takeda. From there, my consciousness began to fade, and my vision blurred gradually. Time had dilated, and before I knew it, I had awoke. A blinding ray of sunlight caused me to wince, and I shook my head in confusion. Where was I? Later on, I stumbled back to Goryokaku, traversing over brutal scores of corpses and broken remains of artillery, as Shimada rushed to meet me at the gate. He informed me of the Republic of Ezo's surrender, and I learned that Iba was nowhere to be found. Rumors hovered through the demoralized ranks about something eerie out on the battlefield. In the night, they witnessed two white-haired warriors battling well into the break of dawn. A wave of intense regret crashed over my sore heart. I should never have let Iba fight Takeda alone, and I replayed the moment of his promise in sorrow. Was it the last time I, or anyone for that matter, had caught sight of the kind, noble Iba ever again? No, it couldn't be. Iba surely was still alive somewhere, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal himself. Iba. A haunting silence floated around Goryokaku. I decided to wait for the man I loved to return. And that is how that ends.